Everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Warning, this is a long video, and my goal is to showcase all of my mistakes and how you can learn from them so you don't play badly like I did. I'm serious though, this was not a very good display on my end, but I'm not afraid to showcase my mistakes. You gotta learn from it and we're moving forward. That's been a big thing on my channel as of late. You know that I've been working on my aim, I've been going to Discord and popping in for 1v1s. The goal is to improve, and we're gonna improve from this, and I'm gonna learn a lot, and I'm hopefully gonna share my experience with you guys. In fact, I see a lot of others in the community who played in this tournament that were also harsh on themselves. I saw a comment from Raintastical, whose gameplay I highly respect. He's a very skilled player. He was actually a team captain with imperialhal on his squad. Additionally, other squad mates included across the board like Shiv, Itztimmy, Lyric. There's a lot of fantastic talent that were playing in this tournament. This tournament was difficult because of the high level of skill. We pretty much felt like we were going already ALGS pre-finals or even finals, essentially. Everyone should be proud of how they played, by the way, because I felt we all learned something that day, and I sure did, reviewing my gameplay. Let's break down what this tournament was. This was a tournament put on by Draynilla and SoaR Gaming. The team captains were BIPOC and in charge of finding one creator and one pro. I'm proud to say SoaR was a big part of helping making things possible. Be sure to follow SoaR and Dray in the description down below. SoaR, by the way, is the org I proudly work for. So if you're wondering what I do for a day job, I work for SoaR Gaming. Very proud of my team and everything that we do. Now, there were strict rules for the legends. You can only play Mirage, Horizon, and Pathfinder. This was a rule as they were Draynilla's mains, so kind of like a little twist. No scan meta, no scan legends. Kind of bring things back, but with just something more interesting than just doing Watson, Pathfinder, Wraith. I have to say, while the legend choice was limiting, it made for a fun way for us to all push ourselves with legends we don't normally play. I personally main Watson Advantage, currently playing also a bit of Loba as well. Now, here are some mistakes we made before we even started the tournament. Number one, we did not play as a squad prior. I think this is very important that we should have played together, even just for a few rounds. Number two, we did not discuss our dropping spots until 1 hour before. We didn't really plan our loot tables, even though we figured it out and we did pretty good as players. I think we should have cleaned this up more. Number three, I did not play Mirage prior to this tournament. Now, this is just me being dumb. I should have played more Mirage. I take full ownership of this. This is not a really big deal considering it was a fun tournament. There was $10,000 on the line. Yes, we could have done more. It's a two-way street. We all could have done more before this tournament. It's very clear I'm not a Mirage main, by the way. This is probably the longest I've ever played him, and I can see why and ways that I could definitely have improved. If you're a Mirage main, I'm sorry that the gameplay is not perfect here, but I learned a lot about bamboozling, and one that I will not forget. I definitely have a lot more respect for those that play Mirage in general. Now, some additional wide mistakes is that we played maybe too passive as well. Maybe we need to occupy more space and show more presence. I think we did it well in game one, though. I think a positive one makes this a good VOD review. Bronzey is a great IGL, and we made the decisions together, win or lose. IGL role is literally one of the hardest roles and easiest to blame. To avoid comp clutter, we listen to the IGL because seconds matter. Shout out to my teammates Noobking and Bronzey. I think we played this really, really well. And by the way, I learned a lot from it. So I appreciate the invite to the tournament for SoaR, for Dray, and let's deep dive into the first game. Okay, for game one, let's go and start the review analysis. I'm going to have a pointer on screen whenever I pause, just so I can highlight whatever I'm talking about. Now for our landing location, this was a 6-round tournament. Like I said, there's a lot of big names that were part of this tournament. It was a lot of fun, great learning experience overall. I want to also highlight we took Survey Camp for World's Edge, and I believe we have Cascades for Storm Point, and last one we have Breaker Wharf. Which is interesting about Survey Camp is the fast rotation. The first game actually crashed, and so this is technically round 2, but the beauty here is that we were able to figure out our rotation and our loot pattern. Because we all kind of know what we're doing and how to loot quickly and efficiently, we're pretty efficient on our loot pattern overall. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to skip ahead because we got our ideal loadout. Pretty much I was going to play anchor support, so I made sure to have myself a sniper as well as a close range weapon. So I was pretty much going to be leveling up our armors, poking, and then creating some entry. I think our first game is actually the one we played the best overall. I think we played a strat where we were ratting in a building to jump the first team and then occupy space, and we wanted to try to mimic that in game 2. But the thing is that as the lobby kept progressing, individuals started conforming more to a meta, and we just didn't necessarily adjust. And that's going to be kind of highlighted in the review process here. So I looted my bins, and you're going to see in the next round I do the similar rotation, and then we pretty much craft up our armors. We didn't get as lucky. The first go around actually would have been probably better, but let's go and skip ahead. So we skip ahead. What we're going to do is our goal is to get into zone as fast as possible. Now, when you're playing competitive, it's really important to head into zone. Every team is very competent. You'll notice that nobody's really going to be dying in first zone, and you don't want to get gated because everyone has already pretty much looted every single one of their POIs. Also, an interesting thing in this this tournament is that we all pretty much had a gentleman's agreement to land over a specific POI and not contest, just to make the tournament more interesting so people weren't just griefing and 50-50ing off drop. This happens in scrims, and sometimes in ALGS people will claim where they're landing to avoid getting contested on, because landing 50-50 is never really fun. And when I say 50-50, it means, like, let's say two teams, let's go and pause here and let's go to highlight. Let's say two teams land here in this POI. One lands here, one lands over here. There's just not enough loot here. Why are they contesting here? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but people do it. Even in small places, I don't understand why people 50-50. Sometimes you just don't have a choice, and a team will just keep 50-50ing you to hopefully for you to leave that POI, because sometimes the POIs are mostly going to be center, and those are better POIs to potentially, I guess, hold center zone. So you'll see us go for rotate. We hold this building to see if we can catch any teams out, and then we decide to armor swap here for now, just so I can level up armors and kind of do what we need to do accordingly. So what we do is we go rotate towards the center here. We zip line over. We notice that a lot of teams are pretty much late, which is good. It gives us a moment to gather resources here, extra loot, which is definitely a positive. Remember, there's 20 teams, and there's enough loot on the map for at least a team to rotate and grab what they need. So some additional damage here. I'm pretty much going for poke, so we skip ahead just a little bit here. I missed some shots here. Team's rotating. We're kind of getting a feel for the land. We know that the team is also from Epicenter, and I think there's only one team that's really landing Fragment, I believe, because otherwise this POI would have been looted. So we weren't really concerned when we rotated here going forward that there was going to be any team of concern or really much contention here. As we skip ahead, I do get a nice little cheeky headshot, which pretty much lands me my upgraded armor, so we're going to keep skipping ahead. And there it is. Nice little headshot. Boom, leveled up armor. Leveling up armor is very, very important, especially in poke damage, especially when it comes to competitive. I think that your mid-range and long-range and competitive is more important. If you have at this point, you should have already, if you're playing competitive, and mastered some close range encounters and know how to fight and be pretty competent. The long range encounters are so important, especially if some of these shots honestly should have landed. The more damage you're able to land and dish out, the better, because one, it levels up armors and it takes away the resources. Resources are instrumental when it comes to competitive, because every single cell and every single battery means everything, because every POI is looted and everyone's doing a lot of damage. Everyone's very competent at what they're doing. I mean, if you're facing off against Itztimmy or whoever, you know they're going to be able to land their shots, right? That's just kind of how it works. So in these lobbies, there's a lot more respect and a lot more patience, because they know everybody can land their shots. They know if you look at somebody like, here you go in a second, you know, I should be able to land 2 shots here. I believe I cracked one of them. No, I guess I don't. I only hit one for 55. But that's why some of the peak shots are so fast and they don't stay on the roof. They know if they even hold there for a second that, you know, we're pretty much going to just farm them for free. I have a head glitch pretty much where I have a small hitbox. So that's what a head glitch is. You know, you want to keep your hitbox as small as possible to minimize damage. Once I hit this headshot before and I can't seem to land it again here, and I stop. So the reason I stop is because I'm wasting resources. If I start to lose the battle, it starts to become a battle that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So you're probably asking the question, why are you not pushing this early on right now? Right now, what your goal is to try to do, especially when you're playing competitive, is have teams rotate towards you, so then you can pretty much gate them out. Now, let's say they were a lot closer and I did this damage. Sure, then we can push on it and make a play. But right now, we know there's a team to the north, and we know that we need to rotate. 19 squads. That means if we're late, that means we're going to get gated. So we decided to rotate. And I think this was a really great call from Bronzey. Bronzey's a fantastic IGL. I've played with him before. It's been like 2 years actually. It hadn't been a really long time. And Noobking I got to play a little bit before the tournament. Now, what I could do more with Mirage specifically is I could put out decoys. I should have been putting them out as I'm poking, so then they can shoot them on the ground, and so it calls out attention to where other teams are located. I always say that Mirage has very little use in competitive, but after playing him, especially in this tournament, he could definitely have some places. You're going to see later where Shiv had some fantastic plays, where we got eliminated early, but some really, really solid plays using the res, and it makes it really hard to stop a Mirage from resing, especially when you don't know exactly where they're at. Now, another interesting thing, you notice here that we hold this area. This isn't a bad hold, but we realize that we need to rotate to a better spot. The reason why this becomes no longer a good hold is because we know there's a potential for us getting sandwiched. So this is a strat that we did because nobody's running Scan Legends right now, right? And even in competitive, you know, Scan Legends, even ranked, there's a lot more moments to rat. So Bronzey makes a call here that we definitely want to hold this area, but we don't want to hold it too early. The reason why we don't want to hold it too early, I'm going to pause it, and we're going to go back a few seconds here. And it makes sense to a certain degree, but, you know, sometimes it doesn't always make a whole lot of sense, but let's go and pause it here. Let's go to take a look. So the reason why you don't want to hold this early is you can get shot from here, a team could put pressure here as they rotate it in, and you have a lot of pressure here, but if you're here too early, you can get blasted from too many spots. And if you're, remember, resources are everything. If I get cracked once, I now have half the resources, right? And you don't want that. That's really, really bad. And this early on, especially, you're going to see what we do. We try the strat later. It's pretty much the rat strat, you know, once, because we know a team's going to rotate through here, right? We're super early, but we don't want to posture up quite yet. So posturing up means like you're just holding and anchoring a spot. If you anchor it too early, and then we're going to see what happens later when you anchor it too early, the downsides of it. So we're going to skip ahead, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 seconds, and we wait here. You notice how the zone's closing, only one team has died, and the opportunity that it creates. I think we played this really well trying to rat the first time, and the second time you'll see it's small mistakes, but then it helps you. It pretty much made us lose momentum. Momentum is really everything. So we hear a team rolling up. Let's skip. Okay, there we go. And we catch them out, right? So we catch one out, but this pretty much means that we can at least win our fight. So what we need to do is just minimize our damage that we're taking. I unfortunately do go down. Let's figure out what mistake I make essentially going down. So I try to do as much damage as we can. I definitely need to pop my ult. Do I pop it here? Oh, I did, but it was a little... The person already shoved in. So I should have popped my ult probably around this time frame. Mirage, I was using it more as a reactive defense, and it could be used more preemptively. And then otherwise, I'm just sitting here with my ult in my hands, and that pretty much causes me to go down. They do clutch us out, so my mistake here was ulting as like a reactive rather than a defensive. I should have popped it way sooner. I don't know why I didn't. Not a Mirage main, so that was a blatant mistake on my end. So they go for the reds and we reset. The beauty here is now we have 2 KP under our 3 kills under our belt, so pretty solid play. And we go for swaps here. I missed the armor swap there for a second. It was damaged, so that's why I kind of hesitated to see if there was one in the box. And then what we do better this go around is after we rat, because now this is one less team that we know that's going to rotate, that we don't have to worry about sandwiching. The goal is to avoid the sandwich. And because we don't have, let's say, a Watson to really hold up, we use the ratting strat as like a way to hold. It's such a, I don't know, I don't want to use any negative terms, but it definitely is not the most attractive of strats, but it's effective, unfortunately. And you see it a lot more in ranked, and you see it also in high tier plays. It's just, it works because it's unexpected. What do you have to do in high tier plays? You have to do the unexpected. So what we start to do, we have resources for days, and we skip ahead here, and then we hear a fight that happens potentially here in a minute. But we start beforehand, we notice we have access to zone. We start to, I pretty much call it, I'm going to start anchoring and holding and seeing what I can see, and pretty much snipe, you know? This is also big brain strat. You see how they're using the Mirage to like get information? I love that. I need to do more of that. I don't know why I'm not putting out my decoys here. That's a mistake I'm doing as well as a Mirage here, throwing out my decoys to access information. Information is key, knowing who's going to shoot and get your stuff, right? So if we skip ahead, what we start to do is we realize the zone is going to close, so let's go and skip super far ahead. So once the zone closing, we know that because there's 10 teams, there's not enough space for all this. And at one point we hear a team fighting. I think this is Shiv's team. You know, it's funny, people are adopting the rat strat pretty early on here, and there's a team actually ratting in the truck bed there, and we don't realize that. If we actually came from there and moved left, we actually might have gotten ratted on that truck bed with a counter rat strat. So what does this mean? Check your angles, be smart with your positioning. I got bamboozled. Use it technically for Mirage to avoid getting, if you not running scan meta. We thought, okay, so when I got beamed here, we heard the comms on this team, and we didn't realize how fast that they mopped this up. Well, I guess they didn't mop it up. And you'll see in a second, because they're in the truck bed, right? We thought that they were really in it fighting, and so I get beamed on the cross, and I pretty much cannot go down. That's the rule. If you get cracked this hard, you got to leave it to your teammates, and I finally used my ult effectively here. You know, that's a way better ult. At least I'm using it more defensively rather than reactionary. And then we reposition and we pretty much hold our angles. But they finished it so fast with those grenades that Shiv's team just went down really fast. So, unfortunate for them. I think one of them does get away because they're a rat, but if you're running what the term ratting means is like you're all by yourself, or you're just like hiding in a corner altogether, hiding, you know, like New York City rats, you know. If you've ever been in New York, I lived in New York for like over 10 years, so, you know, the term kind of makes a whole lot of sense, especially when you're on subways. So what we do here is, I think we do really well, is we pretty much let me anchor and do as much damage as I can from a distance, and I'm able to pick up a lot of kills here because we're putting pressure. The goal is to put pressure against teams, get them to hunker down, to be scared, to be nervous about pushing, you know, all that fun stuff. I should be using the longbow a bit more. I feel like I whiffed a few shots here. I do get some knocks, I do get some cracks and start to do stuff, but could be just the nervousness, also a tension of, you know, I don't know. I'm surprised how much. There we go. Finally, I start using it. As I start playing, I'm starting to get more of Mirage. Also, he hit the edge of the wall, so the thought process is good. Still poor execution. So it's one of those things that for Mirages, they're probably cringing. I see all the flaws I was making. So 55, 110, good damage. Oh my gosh, almost knocked him. So really good damage there, but that halts that team. You know, it's helpful to put pressure because now I leveled up my armor. Now we all have purples, which is fantastic. And now what we need to do is look for, let's see, does it hit the wall? No, it doesn't, thank gosh. And you could control it afterwards. That was a much better decoy. You know, it definitely freaks people out. You know, that's essentially the goal of it, to try to get into as much of a straight path as possible. And let's skip ahead here, because essentially what we start doing is we just start gating. Movement of these players are always going to be difficult to hit, and it's always fun. So we'll hit one for 55. And then there's going to be a team on the left. There's a lot of people at this point who are pretty much by themselves solo. There's another crack. A lot of good damage here. And the damage always racks up. Remember, your goal is to waste team of their resources. The more resources that you can pretty much take from them, the more effective you're going to be as a team. Now, this is us holding a lot of space. By the way, we're commanding a lot of space on this map. That's why I say the first round was really, really solid. I think everything else started to fall apart, but we can highlight in the later rounds why that failed to work and what our decision making was. And sometimes it's a bit of luck. There is a bit of luck at the higher levels, and there you go. That's a good knock. Now, this was a mistake here, is I should have, there's two things. We focused too heavy on the right. I know there was a call to focus here on the right. I should have still been anchoring on the left to get that call in instead, because there's still 6 squads. Or one of them could also have been looking. I should have been looking. I called it. By this point, it was a little too late, because they're already here. They start looking. We're going to get run up on. This team is really, really solid at getting close range fights, and was definitely a team that we should have been more concerned about. I don't know how I got bamboozled by that. That push wouldn't have made any sense whatsoever. I mean, you know what we did? I should have used my ult here. Again, more of a reactionary mistake. I should have knocked an individual. I don't know how I didn't get that. And because of that, the spray on that was just not good. So when we look at this, I should have used my ult here, like right here. Used it and just started to bamboozle. Every fight should have been used more reactionary. Defensively rather than reactionary. I didn't even use it at all. I should be putting up more decoys. And realistically, though, as Watson, I've already had fences here. You know, Bronzey just got aped. Unfortunate. Noobking is technically the Pathfinder, so technically you could have gone in and grappled towards that. And again, I should have used my ultimate more defensively here, and then we go out. So now this team actually did really, really well. I think they got 2nd place overall. Good damage across the team, not bad. So when we look here, they have the position, which is where we were going to go. But again, I should have watched the further angle. We all should have been a little bit more aware. We just got... This happens a lot, especially when you're trying to find the synergy of a team. How many angles you're watching and just entrusting your teammates to do so. I think we were just riding a high because we were starting to really get into a groove and knocking this lobby. And at this point at the very end, there's so many teams that have been broken up. You'll see at the end here, they're just killing rats at this point. No, not even full squads, because everyone had been already fighting pretty early on and gated. And they're just pretty much mopping people up for free. You know, at that point, that team goes out, and there's only one more, and then boom. That's literally it. You don't even see it because he was chasing somebody else, and they just die pretty much on screen. It was really, really fast. So that's game 1. Let's go into game number 2, where I guess, I mean, this was where we put us in 4th place. We were actually doing really great. Really great performance at the start, and then we just kind of started to dwindle. And again, that could have been cleaned up with us practicing, us taking it more seriously. All those mistakes, they all add up. You know, maybe I was a bit too harsh on myself after this tournament myself as well. Like, there's a lot of great plays, a lot of great decision making. I think we did good here. Let's go into game 2, where things get interesting. Okay, game number 2. You'll notice our loot pattern is always the same. It's very important for competitive. Bronzey still is going very far out to the left. We're splitting this POI. We go right to the balloon to go into zone. I'm trying to remember why this round. World's Edge, I think, was our better of our rounds. I'm kind of surprised. I wonder how round 2 went. I don't even remember what happened now. Well, let's find out. See how the rotation is always the same. Got my same loadout. Got myself a sniper. Got myself a secondary. I'm going to craft my armor up, and then we're going to run. I don't think anything was wrong with our loot rotation. I think we could have saved a few seconds by being more effective with what we picked up and what we need to calm to our teammates what to hold. But overall, not bad. I mean, we're playing it pretty much at a pro level in terms of our rotation and sticking together because we were really, really fast. Oh, I remember what happened now. I got beamed from a distance. I should have jumped more on the zip line. This doesn't happen for a while, though. But I did get a really solid beam. I think that if I just went with them during the rotation, I don't know why I waited or hesitated. We'll find out in a second. We're going to skip ahead because we just go and find a spot, essentially. We were trying to go for the same rat strat because we're like, okay, well, you know what we can do? Let's just see if we can knock a team out so we can occupy more space, right? I kind of agree initially with Bronzey's decision here of not showing too much space. Like, our armors are good. We don't need to sit here and really level up our armors too much to worry. Like, we do anchor and we try to take a team on rotation, but we know we're making a lot of noise, but we don't want to be thirded. So we do try to occupy some space over here to see if we can third this and kind of take a peek, but we realize the team is nearby and we instantly disengage. We know, oh, not worth it anymore. Because we know teams are going to rotate. 19 squads is just is what's going to happen. So because of that, we decide to rat this building for an extended period of time. You'll see, we say, okay, you know what, let's just rat it. Let's see if we can get a team out. Let's not waste any resources and essentially just wait. The lobby will eliminate itself over time, and we can just wait and get placement points because the placement points are important, but we don't want to burn our resources this early on to the point where we're like, I can't heal anymore. So while this strat is not ideal, I think this is where a Watson would come in and we would showcase more presence by using the gen. That's why Watson is so S tier when it comes to competitive or when you're running Loba for resources. Resources are king, and when you're playing at this high of a level, I would say like first round of ALGS, you don't necessarily have to play like this. Just run the lobby and just go push people. But when you know everyone is good, you can't do that. It's just not physically possible. Like, you know, like if you get into a fight, everyone's going to burn the resource. Let's say you go into like a 30-second fight. We all crack each other. Let's see how many, like, look at the resources that we have. So these aren't bad resources. Let me pause the screen. When we have these resources here, let's take a look. You know, we got four shield cells and 1 battery. Essentially, I can get cracked twice, and then I'll only have 2 cells and 1 bat. So if I get cracked twice in a fight, I have burned through every single one of my resources, and what do I have left, right? Well, what's left after all that? Nothing. Essentially, you're kind of just, that's it. Like, you need to make sure that the fight that you decide to actually fight to begin with makes a lot of sense. Or you have a legend that's able to utilize resources or help you replenish that, because essentially Watson Gen can really help you go for those poke battles and go into an extended fight. Now that changes, like I was saying, if you are fighting in a low tier lobby, you just keep mopping up teams and taking the resources. But imagine I crack them twice and they crack me twice. When I loot their box, what do you think they're going to have? Pretty much nothing. You know, like, you're not getting much resource in the other team. There we go. We do get a knock here, and I'm a little jittery, unfortunately. I think I was a little nervous. I think my nerves started settling in once we performed well, and I was trying to get a little comfortable. Brilliant play, by the way, by the Horizon that saves this Mirage. We weren't able to get this person, and the reason why, there was a Q that saved him, very fast Q. And we have a team on the left and the team on the right. So we just hold. So we hold because, you know, we're not, I don't peek at all because my armors aren't bad. And we decide not to peek because we know if we gauge on the team on the right, the team on the left's going to push. And so there's a lot of respect here. And I do try at one point to go for a peek, and we decide to rotate. We know zone isn't going to pull here. I agree with Bronzey. We decide to rotate, and we navigate between 2 teams here. This is a really great rotation. We did this very, very efficiently and very fluidly. I think our Royal's Edge knowledge across the board for all 3 of us is a lot better than Stormpoint and Broken Moon. I think Bronzey would agree with that if he watches this video. When we played Broken Moon, our knowledge of just how to and where to rotate just isn't as much. Bronzey was a pro player back when Royal's Edge was a big map, and, you know, naturally if you have less experience on the new map, you know, what's going to happen? You know, naturally you're just going to have less information, you know. So we decide to not necessarily take the top roof of this building, but to play the 2nd floor. And the reason for that is that we don't want to burn through a lot of resources. You notice that I've already burned through 4 cells, and we've looted more area, and keep in mind there's a lot of teams still alive, and we decide to kind of just hold, wait for teams to get knocked. A lot of teams start to get knocked. We hold. And at one point, a team does decide to push us. I one-clip one of them. There we go. Let's just see what happens. One of them decides to come up. Clean. Actually, this was a really good spray. It was a really good spray. It created an opening, and I was going to try to grief it, but then I back up really, really fast because now, boom, I just wasted 4 cells. All I have is a battery. This is the most annoying part when it comes to resources, when it comes to competitive, is that unless you're mopping a team that has a lot of stacked resources, then you're just not going to have very much. You need to have that resource legend, whoever it is, Loba, Watson, somebody who gives you fast rotation for stuff. So we start splitting these resources. We go back to holding here. I don't think anything's necessarily wrong with it. We know we can't stay here, so we decide to rotate. Now we're going to see the mistake when I get beamed off. I should have jumped. Okay, let's see what happened here. I was actually really close behind. How did I fall behind? Let's see here. Did I take it right away? I'm here with him, right on his back. I take it. Oh, I got bumped off. Oh, no. Oh, man, that's unfortunate. That bump off is literally what cost me. And then I got beamed so fast here. I could have jumped, but I was so close, and I didn't want to spend extra time in the zip. It's crazy how seconds like that matter because I'm right there on him, but then I got bumped off. And the bump off cost me like 4 to 5 seconds. Not 4 to 5. Let's take a look at the timestamp. Let's take a look here. When we take a look, We have 1409, 1, 2. 2 seconds. 2 seconds was the make and break of us getting up here. Look, because they already saw us, and they didn't take shots at Thumb, but at this point, oh, this could have been such a good round. But unfortunately, we're looking here. I mean, look where I got shot. I got shot from literally pretty much most of the lobby there. I mean, it's just unfortunate. And at this point, you know, they're just being hunted down because they know that they're duo. Anybody would pretty much run them down. They're trying to hide here, rat for a second, and they try to bait and play it separate. But they know the team is about to run up. So he comes for Noobking to kind of move ahead, so then he can pretty much stay here for free. But they do realize that they're here, and that nade, once it hits them, they pretty much know that they're there, unfortunately. And then boom, that's pretty much the end of this. Bronzey does a really great job of finding space just by kind of being out in the open, so he can skip ahead. Sometimes the most obvious spots can be sometimes the best hiding spots, because this is not an obvious spot to really look, right? And because of that, he is able to get 6th place, and this keeps us, I think, in the top 7 still. I just wish that it was 2 seconds of a bump. Looking back, that's crazy that's all it took. Honestly, he does a great job of riding this. He does get 6th place, and there's really not much getting done more in this situation. Bronzey played this out really, really well. Queued because they were charge rifling him. Maybe he could have stayed there for an extra second, and then just got beamed from above. Unfortunate. And then we see the team that is holding out here. This team kind of threw. Who is this? This Zenium and Greek Zen. Okay, Zen. And cream cheese. So this wasn't bad, but they got distracted by the team on the left, unfortunately. I think it was a rat. So they're holding. They have really great positioning, by the way, right now, for now. But they're looking to see where they need to rotate. They could just play those rocks, which is why they ping him. You see on the mini-map. So the problem here is they get distracted by a rat, right? So their whole back is not being watched at the moment. And because it's not being watched, well, you know, they're just going to get run up on for free. So the teams behind are fighting. There's another rat. I think the other one might have died. But they don't get any of these points, and so they're super distracted. I think one of them even goes down at this point. Even though this is the thing when we say you have a lot of respect for the lobby, keep in mind it's just a rat, right? But this rat puts up so much of a... I guess it wasn't a rat, it was a duo. Puts so much of a fight. You see how one of them went down right here. All it takes is for one person, even if they have 20 HP, to land their shots, and then boom, their game has just essentially been griefed. It's really unfortunate. And then what was a power play, maybe if they played a little more patient and waited for the team to come in, because zone was already going to close in. And patience for the zone will put a lot more pressure than any team will, and you don't want to risk losing any HP. So game 2, man, all that was just a bump. That's so unfortunate, man. Looking back at that, because we were going to be there so early. Man, oh well, you know, it's those little things. I don't think anything else was necessarily wrong, because we had resources and we're ready to hold an anchor. We could have been there faster than any team at that point, but you know, it's just the way it goes sometimes. Let's go into game 3. Okay, now we go on to game 3. So Cascades is a really good spot. You'll notice our overall trend, and I think in Broken Moon, we should have taken South Promenade. I know that Bronzey was very against Promenade, and I definitely recommended Breaker Wharf, but I think we should have taken Promenade instead. I think the rotation getting in was just way too difficult for Broken Moon, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. I think it was our biggest downfall. I think we would have easily broken like top 10 rather than the place that we got, which is 15th. So we went from 4th place to 7th, and it just keeps going downhill. Storm Point is also my weakest map. I'm not very good at this map particularly, even when it comes to ranked for some reason. I don't really know. I guess I just don't spend a lot of time on it. Even in pubs, I don't play it out too much because it's not my favorite pubs map. And then when it is in ranked, I don't know, every time it's been in the split, I just have not had enough time to play it. It's just kind of the unfortunate reality. And it was a map that I never played competitively either. And to be fair, I didn't play Broken Mood competitively because, well, I don't think Broken Mood is in competitive. So just beside the point, as I'm stuttering over here, is our rotation here is pretty clean. We do get a lot of loot Cascades. Unfortunately, not any blues, so we decided to craft them up. One thing we do decide to do is split the guaranteed loot, which is over by Spider Cave. And you'll see next round we decide to clean that up. So, oh, there's blues right there. So perfect. So we start getting the loot that we need. The charge rifle is absolutely busted. I wonder what happened this round. What happened to us? Oh, I remember. So we tried to do the rat strat, and I just make a mistake. You'll see it in a second. And I just didn't land my shots whenever I landed. So we decided to rotate in, and we had a great rotation. And all it takes is just one split decision mistake. I think the strat of us trying to clean up one team by ratting was at least a decent call. I still would occupy more space, knowing that, granted, if I was in Watson, we would play it differently. I think we're just trying to circumvent that we don't have an anchor legend. So what do you do in that situation? You know, you don't have Caustic, you don't have, you know, Watson. We have one legend that it just doesn't have mobility to get there as fast in a fight. So I'm essentially always hugging Bronzey in these decisions, but let's continue to skip ahead. So right here, what we decide to do is we decide to take the this one building here through rotation. Most teams kind of rotate through. We can pretty much shoot them in the back. Now, Noobking calls us beforehand, but he was accidentally muted. So I guess the tip here is just make sure you're not muted. I should have known better. My idea is I think they're going to rotate over to the left because he's on me at the start here. I think maybe he calms it there. But unfortunately, his mic was muted. So if you were watching this live and you saw this, so I'm holding here because I didn't want all of us to be bunched up in necessarily one corner so we don't shoot each other in the back. So I chill here. So what happens is, you know, that one spot they just pinged that Noobking just talked about is I get shot from there. Very unfortunate. Boom, they see me. At that point, we are forced to fight. And you'll see it. We kind of got split. I thought whenever he popped his Q, where we were going to go, I heard a lot of damage done on the horizon. So this was good. I actually used it defensively for once. Went up. I heard the damage on the horizon, and I don't know how I didn't get this. This is just nerves or what. I don't know what that was, but embarrassing nonetheless, because I should have had this. I heard that he got shredded. He might have been like 1 HP because he was flesh. Oh yeah, he might have. He's 100%. By the end of this, let's see here. I know I'm having an alternate in my hands. If I had an RE9, it would be different. He's 10 HP. 10 HP was a... Because Bronzey came in and went for the kill there. And I think they were split. Let's see what happened. Because we have great damage here. This could have been our fight regardless. Just needed better tracking. Any additional shot there, one bullet would have made the difference here in the fight. Because then I don't go down. I'm there to help with this person landing on us. We would have had the two angles here. Bronzey had height. This whole fight would have been different. All have been different if I didn't whiff just one extra bullet. That's all it takes. So one thing I did in this tournament is I was using a different mouse and I've been using a different sensitivity, but I've been aim training quite a bit. It just so happens that the tournament lined up whenever I was making a lot of adjustments. And unfortunately, even if I went back, I think the newer sensitivity has been better. You'll know in the Discord that I've been training 1v1s, and Bronzey decides to go rat because they're all reset and healed. Gosh, I would play so differently. One extra shot there. My mistake on that building right there by not being on top of them would have changed everything. Noobking, if his mic wasn't muted, we would have remained in the top 10. Easy. Those are such easy things to clean up. I think the unfortunate part that happened here is that as we start to make more mistakes happen, then you lose momentum as a team, right? You start to get discouraged. And it's not really anybody's, they're not major flaws, right? And, you know, with scan meta not being here, you see that Bronzey's able to occupy a lot of space, rotate in. I think he got a little greedy by some of the rotations. But, you know, we're having fun. It's also not necessarily supposed to be a super serious tournament. Yes, there's $10,000 on the line. But, you know, hey, it was still just a fun learning experience, right? So he's able to move in, rat. He decides to kind of try to go. He wants to go on the opposite side because he knows not a lot of teams are going to take that. But he starts getting shot. He does survive here, by the way. Regardless of how good the players are in this lobby, even good movement and stuff at this distance is really hard to hit. Oh, you know what? Oh, you know what I did on the Q? I just realized Horizon Q got nerfed. I'm over here trying to blast somebody while on the Q. I should have held my shots. Oh man, I'm so used to thinking it through when I jumped on that Q. I was assuming I would have had 100% accuracy. My crosshair was off still, but still, just thinking about that, like I should have taken the fight so differently. I don't know why I took the Q thinking 100% accuracy. I'm just kind of like thinking about that. It's so dumb. Well, you know, stuff happens. So, okay, he's ratting here, pushing, and then we decide he rotates. Now, the interesting part, remember how I told you another team? I think this was Dom's team, I believe. Let's see here. I think they got second place. I'm not mistaken, right? Is he decides to move over for this area, and one of the teams decides to move over early for it too, and then he gets eliminated. So they decide to occupy this space here and move forward. And the problem with holding an area like this, you remember how in Landslide we're talking about it? It's great to have this strong positioning early, but you don't want it too early. Why? Because now everyone who's about to push in, you're going to get shot from the left, the right, the front, the back, everywhere. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be early bird gets the worm essentially every single time. You want to work your way into a nice clean spot where you're not being focused, because otherwise, like right here, you're going to get focused by everybody. And that's just the unfortunate situation. You see the other guy in the back, they decide to reset, and there's some good reses here. And even mistakes. You know how seconds matter? It's just every single second matters when it comes to competitive, assuming everyone can land their shots. So pop a Phoenix kit here. We know that there's teams going to rotate all in a minute, so that's a big concern that we have to worry about. Teams on the north side, looks like they're trying to shove in. He gets shot, he goes down. At that point, it's over. He realistically shouldn't have been peeking here. If you're peeking here, it means that you're trying to do damage. I know they're trying to get intel and information, but at this point, the whole fight changes. Done. Over. It needs to go for immediate res, and does. The res timing was absolutely perfect. Every second matters, but you know what they're going to do? They're going to shove. They're going to shove. They're going to put their Horizon ult down, and they're going to heal, which is great. And then the Mirage did the best they could by just constantly reviving. I think that at one point, because they almost got this clutched here. Let's see here. Like, it was very, very close. Goes for the res. Because I think it's a 1v1. Oh man, regardless of somebody gonna jump on, it was very close. That first knock though was everything, and it's just such a simple mistake, right? But it's hard to anticipate every variable in the moment, just like me being at that one spot instead of just being on top of them, or taking the Horizon Q and missing just like even 10 damage. 10 damage is all it took. Literally 10 damage is a difference there, and that can make and break everything, right? That's why, you want to clutch out every single second of every moment. I mean, again, you don't even want to be the center, because now all the teams are moving in. Top 4, this does close out, I believe. I think Aiden's team, unfortunately, got a little bit too aggro. Again, they were trying to occupy space, but you don't necessarily want to be there first. You want to make sure that other teams are kind of making plays, because they don't have all the information, right? This is debatable because they were pretty close to getting this, to be honest. And these are very good players. They're going to land a majority of their shots and know how to take angles. They're resetting very well. And he is getting some damage in there. Decides to ult, but he does get run up on in the back here, unfortunately, in just a second, and becomes a sandwich because the other team was already cleaned up. Maybe they thought they could clean this up in a sufficient amount of time, but they look, boom, this is over. GG's done. No matter how good his accuracy is, that's just the mistake right there, because we knew the other team was going to roll up. Regardless, you see a massive amount of damage from Kine. Even a VOD reviewing would be like, well, maybe we shouldn't have pushed in. And then at this point, it's just pretty much GG's, because he's going to fly over. And then the other teams are going to fight. And there's the game, essentially. That's pretty much it. Because then it's just a squad of 2, and he just fights at the end, Just got away. They got good placement here. Second place isn't bad, I'll take second place. Anybody would. And he was looking for the armor swap. It was not in the right box. And you're not going to win a 1v3 against that level of skilled players when it's like pretty much like trying to play finals, All right, next game. Let's go. Now, I don't remember what happened in game 4, but at Cascades, we do split it. You notice we go for the free armor over there. Somebody is trying to contest, but they decide to leave. So that's not a big deal. We get a bunch of loot, get our ideal setup. I got a sentinel, flatline. I remember now, actually. So poke damage is really everything and putting pressure. I remember when we're trying to put pressure on a team. We'll skip ahead to it, because not a whole lot really happens here. I think do we have zone here? I think we do for a little bit. We decide to craft and just wait. We held this building out really, really well for an extended period of time, because there's just nowhere to go right now. We just got to wait, hold resources, and just wait, which is what we do. But we do rotate, and we started World War III in the tunnels. And we're going to skip ahead. Boom, boom, boom. Skip, 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 skip. You'll notice that we decide to leave, and when we decide to occupy more space this other direction over here, just so we're further in zone, because we don't want to get caught out. Nobody necessarily wants to be caught out, so we try to look for a rotation. We actually want to go further in. That's the goal. Also, I've been talking a lot already. Don't forget to drink water. I'm going to drink a sip of water while we're looking at what we're looking at here. Water, good for you. Seriously, don't forget to drink it. Their movement's a little sporadic here, which is why I kind of hold some of the shots. I should have been better here, landing more shots. There we go. Boom. Nice shot. And maybe if we got a knock here, we probably would have gone on it, but it's very unlikely. The distance is pretty far. It's wide open. So we decided to hold here. This isn't a bad hold. I honestly think we should have just held here the whole entire time, but there is a team that was getting very aggro on us, and the Nemesis was actually really nutty here when we're facing off against it. So height is clear. Bronzey watches a tunnel. This team on the left, the Nemesis, is crazy. I am really shocked. It just wasn't landing enough. No, none of us actually were landing enough counter pressure on this team. I can't remember if this was Hal's team. I think it is, with Rain Tactical and Hal, because they show up late to the tunnel. I actually don't even know, to be honest, anymore. But regardless, we're putting pressure, and I'm wasting resources by getting hit by that Nemesis. And Nemesis is really strong poke damage and competitive. It's almost even better than a sniper, to be honest. I wouldn't even mind running that as a sniper because the burst damage. I mean, even if you get 17 damage, it's annoying, right? Because you either got to choose to sell it up or peek again with knowing that you have less damage. But so they keep peeking, and again, even with this peek battle here, right? Because I told Noobking, like, I got a sight, let me try to peek. Within like a few seconds there, I just got absolutely shredded, and I'm trying to like thread the needle, but I didn't realize he was at the bottom instead, and now I'm burning through more cells, right? We came out of this area with a lot of cells, so that's why I don't mind going for the peek battle. What I could have done here, use my decoy. Maybe I use my ultimate and then peek from multiple angles instead to kind of throw them off to try to go for some counter damage. Just some stuff I could have done more as a little pesky Mirage, but I just didn't do because I wasn't thinking, because I'm not a Mirage main. A lot of Mirages will look at this and be like, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't do that. I 100% agree. So I do calm that I can tell that they're really confident. This team right here is very, very confident. So Bronzey, maybe we should, honestly, we should just held. We decided to go, excuse me, for the tunnel because we want to go for a rotation. But unfortunately, everybody in the lobby has the same decision. And you're going to see whenever we go in, this was a split decision that we made. And I should have been more on Bronzey. And I could have used my ultimate more reactionary. I got split on the decision that we were going to make. You'll see. So I push forward. Noobking is taking left. Bronzey pushes forward. And you'll see what happens here. Somebody, I use the ult. And we ping. And I see he's moving up on it. I think that he's moving up on it. But then Bronzey doesn't. And this was just miscommunication because then I lose track of him. I have no idea where he went. And he got the jump on me. And because he got the jump on me, I just completely whiff. And that is pretty much the end of the fight right there. Like, that's boom. All it takes is a few seconds because then we get thirded hard in the back by everybody else. Everyone's got good aim, good accuracy, everything. But it was just a miscommunication. I needed to pay more attention. I think it was Hal who I ran up on there. I don't even, honestly, I don't even know. There was so many teams. We thought that the teams were more engaged here. But it turns out that they just pretty much disengaged. And the mistake just happened here. And I see him on my left, but I didn't see him on my mini-map, and we roll up together. And if I look here, I wasn't looking at my angles. You can see him right here. On that spot right there, if I slow it down. And I'm a little bit distracted because I see Noobking went down right there, right? And then I get hit right here. And of course, what happens when you're put in this pressure situation, I've already taken damage, is this. You know, that's just, I needed to keep running at this point and not hold. I wasn't going to win this. I needed to get out as much as possible in rat. I guess I did try, but miscommunication here is all it really takes for the problem to occur. I needed to I just was so convinced that he was going to be with me, and I do calm it the minute I get shot there because we thought they were all on the other side over there. It's just really unfortunate timing. And the fact that even if I did damage there, World War III breaks out here. Even Hal's team gets eliminated very early on here. They got some good kills, but Hal just gets absolutely blasted here. So he's trying to hold the angle, does a good amount of damage, but then gets shot in the back because another team's rolling up. And then behind them, there's another team that decides to roll up. Like I said, it went from 12 teams, I think, down to 7 within just a few real seconds here. And that's really all it took. So realistically, you see how we could have just held north instead of rotating through here? I get Bronzey's decision here. This is a really strong anchor point of where you want to hold. And he's just trying to get out, reposition, and unfortunately he cannot, and he gets eliminated. Boom. And it's not over yet. There is another team that decides to fight. You know, we just got eliminated way too early, and then boom, that other team goes out. So this was everyone had the same thought process. We all thought the same exact thing. Everybody who rotated there, Bronzey had the same idea. Hal's team, Rain Tastical's team had the same idea. Everyone had the same idea of rotating through there, and everyone kept getting jump shotting at different angles. It just was an absolute mess of a situation. And so realistically, if we took it a little slower, that probably would have netted us out a bit better. But this didn't do us any favors. And Dom's team has so much power here because they control so much of the map. Because the whole south side of the teams have all been eliminated, the south and west side. The only side that really existed is the east side. And so all they're doing is just kind of chilling, and they just get it handed to them for free because teams, as you see here in the east, are rotating in super late. Because they're rotating in super late, they pretty much have free shots on them. And they're pretty much overwhelmed. There's this one team that up here that just gets so overwhelmed that they just let them rotate on them for free. Let's take a look here. Yeah, you see the team on the left? So they have them there, but they're getting pressured everywhere. They're getting shot from, the little pillbox over there. They're getting shot from everywhere. And at this point, boom, all that damage. Look at that. Just like endless barrage. It's like they could have asked, what could they have done differently? Rotate sooner. That's pretty much it. It doesn't matter how much damage they were going to deal. They were going to get shot from every which angle. And that's pretty much the game for them, And they push in. And look at this. They get all this for free. That's crazy just because the amount of pressure that was being put onto them. Get armor swaps. Boom, they work their way in, and they literally get a free dub because these other teams are fighting, and they come right in. Actually, I'm surprised he gets knocked here. Good spray, honestly. Clan had a fantastic spray. He just, the guy landed a few extra shots with the Havoc, which is a nasty gun, Like, I couldn't even fault him for losing this fight. I mean, he has less HP. He pretty much has the equivalent of White, right? Hits him for 168, I believe, there, and just unfortunate. But, they pull it out because boom, he flies in, done. Now we go on after this point to Broken Moon. So let's talk about Broken Moon. Our rotation here in Broken Moon, we needed a closer POI. You'll see where it goes south multiple times and us waiting. There's a lot of teams like Dom's team, a lot of teams that decide to craft outside his zone. And it makes it virtually impossible for us to push through unless we just instigate a fight, and then we instigate a fight, we get shot by everybody. So Game 5, looking at Breaker Wharf. This is such a horrible POI. I've pretty much changed my tactics of landing Edge. Edge works when you're confident the lobby is bad, but when the lobby is good, it's impossible to rotate in. This is what makes TSM strats of holding center so effective. If you're playing competitive, you need to fight for center zone, unless the people in center are just goofing and throwing. And you realize when you rotate in that you're third parting. Gauge your zones, just kind of change your POIs and where you're landing. But from my experience, from what I've learned here, is I don't really land on Edge anymore. I can't stand it unless I have a nice clean rotation in. Because the problem with this rotation, and you're going to see it here, we didn't anticipate it would be this tight on this map. But we do decide to wait. And you'll see that we take the far end of this POI. We know that I think it's Shiv's teams and Dom's team that we have to pretty much break through. And then we have the team on core. There's two teams on core that they're not fighting, though. That's the problem. And when they do fight, they clean up really quick, and they have more resources than us, and their armor should be better. So we decide to hold. We wait. And Dom's team is very confident, by the way. So we not necessarily we're afraid to push in. We just know that whenever a team is hot, then they're going to be hot, right? So we need to rotate, and we hold here in this POI instead. So what happens here is that we try to go for some space, right? We know we need to get into zone. We can't stay here, but we're getting gated here on this POI. We know there's a team to the right of us, and we know that there's a team on the far left. If we keep eating zone, while it's not an awful thing, Bronzey got shot. You see how many areas he got shot from? Maybe that was a bit aggressive for him to hold there, but at the same time, we needed to push in. At this point, we run away because we've already got one knocked. What is this team going to do? They're going to shove us, right? It's an honest mistake. I don't blame Bronzey for trying to occupy space. That is his role. That's what a Horizon is supposed to do. And we just got extremely punished for it. He got shot from everywhere. I mean, there was so many bullets at him that it was just kind of ridiculous. Nothing he could have done. It would have been nice if we were the ones anchoring rather than the team that everyone knows that they have to push in. There are some beautiful plays that Shiv did actually do here, because now they have to worry about working their way in. But they're less worried because they've already taken and occupied some space here, which is a positive, right? Let's see what they decide to do. And their rotation, I believe that they ping where they want to go. So let's go and follow them as they move in. They got their rotation in. But this is the beauty. This is why when we're doing the ratting strat earlier is that you want to get a team out so you have some room to breathe here, right? They got the room to breathe by eliminating us. Now they have more playroom, essentially. They do know that there's teams that are outside of zone, and they would prefer. This is why teams will go out of their way to kill the teams in the back, and the reason why is that if they're pushing in, the last thing they want to do is become the sandwich, you know, like getting right stuck in the middle. It's the worst possible situation, so you want to get these teams out of the way, so when you push in, you're not having to worry about your backs. So, good spray by Shiv, getting at least some damage in there, which is key. I can't stress enough for Mirage is to use your abilities. It's interesting. He plays Mirage like he does with like a Bang, essentially, you know, by smoke and mirrors. It's what Mirage is, and the more I think about it, smoke and mirrors. You know, throw off your opponents by throwing an enemy. Think of it like a smoke. It's probably the best tip I can think of now. I could have done so much better. I could have thrown my decoy forward to help Bronzey out. I could have popped my ult to just kind of throw some teams off. He didn't land any damage there, but it's okay. You know, got to put that pressure. Let's skip ahead, because what they do is that they're looking for space and Promenade, and they ping where they want to go. That's not a bad spot, and it's pretty much what gives them as good placement as they do. There's some brilliant plays by Shiv and Yanya here that just across the board. LG is a great roster, and you know this team here is definitely formidable. You know, that's why they won. They're really well played. All right, so we skip ahead. So the crevice that they decide to play gives them a lot of playroom. You notice that there's nothing that really happens here, just occupy space. You notice what they're doing very well is they're watching all various angles with each other. They don't necessarily push anything that they don't need to. They're minimizing their resources best they can. They make sure they don't get damaged too much, and they decide to rotate in once the zone is pulling to a different spot. They go underneath to minimize where they're being shot from. Broken Moon, you know, I love this map, and man, in comp is it really, really difficult, because some of the choke points you'll notice are just absolutely punishing beyond belief. And it's mostly for POIs that are really far off, like Breaker Wharf. It kind of really highlights the weak point of that POI. And even though there's like zip lines, like maybe, I don't know. Okay, so they decide to hold here, and this holding spot is actually what really gets them as much positioning as they really have. So reason why there's a good spot, they can play the head glitch here and do a bunch of damage. He does get knocked, but that team will not push him. The reason why is because it's an uphill battle of trying to get in. It'll be pretty much throwing their game. So they get constant free reses because they have great cover, and the nades that they throw in constantly are always missing, and they get naded a lot here. So he uses his ult defensively, kind of like a bank smoke, dodges a nade beautifully, kind of, you know, dodging areas where they need to. I think this is played very, very well, this space, and this is pretty much what Bronzey, whenever he's trying to IGL, is trying to find this spot. But you remember how we were talking about the team in the back that they're trying to like get out of the area? This is done really well because now they don't have to necessarily worry about getting sandwiched or pinched in the back per se. I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to clear out the back too, make sure that the team doesn't necessarily bully them. But their backs are pretty much clear, so they don't have anything to worry about. So what they do is they go right back to that spot. But they do have the right idea to ensure that their backs are clear here. It's so important, because otherwise if a team runs in, what are they going to do? They're literally just going to sit there and just get bullied by everybody. But they do ultimately go back to the spot though. So we skip ahead here, we see them right back in that one area. It does seem like initially that it's a really bad spot, but it's the only spot that they can really play here. It's amazing how for Mirage's his ultimate, the CD, how much it comes off CD. Use it a lot for bait. I could have used a lot more. There's a lot of circumstances I could have used it, so don't make the mistakes I did. So they hold here. They have resources. They're in top 10. They're still in zone, even after the fact here. So all they got to do is just play it patient, and they do. They don't get greedy. Granted, do they want more KP? Sure. But they do have to wait because they can't push anything. They push in the building. They're pushing out in the open. They're going to get shot from the left, or they'll get thirded. If they push on the left, the team in the building is going to look at them, so they can't push that either. So they have to wait. There's so many zip lines here. It's crazy. This is 9 squads still left in the zone, by the way. I think what was interesting is how some of these lobbies played out really competitively. I love also here the use of the Horizon Q to throw off opponents. He tries to go for a play. They definitely try something here, and then it just doesn't work. So it doesn't work, so they back out. If it worked, I guarantee they probably would have shoved it, but it didn't work, so it's always worth the effort. And good ult by Shiv when you use it, because it launches in multiple areas, and he was able to get out cleanly because they made the assumption that he's going to push in. A lot of nade damage, but nothing you can really do to avoid it. He avoided it best he could, and they keep holding here. You're going to see that they're about to get knocked a lot here, right? I'm glad we got this POI, you know, like POV. So they take out the ult immediately, and then they use the ult defensively. Mirage is poking everywhere. One of them goes down, but the beauty of having a Mirage at least is the reses. You're going to see that here in a second. The Horizon Q that was thrown as a counter, they should have died so many times here. Like, it's crazy how they managed to clutch this out. He reses here, invisible. The amount of nades, the amount of stuff that the whole lobby was focusing on them, there's so much resources that were blown here. And they just weren't able to kill them. It's crazy. I mean, it happens, and there they go. They're trying hard. I mean, that Q is to get one of them, and they do. There he goes. Yeah, one of them, the Mirage that goes up. I think the Pathfinder does get blasted up, and it does finally work. Because they know where they're at, but they're just trying to arc it, and it just doesn't ever really land. Let's see here. Ready? It does work at one point on Yanya, and he gets flown up. Oh, yeah, there it goes. He gets flown up and absolutely obliterated. But they can't push. That's the crazy part. They still can't push him to secure the kill because they know that if they push in that they're throwing their game, so they don't push. And because of that, because he's invisible, it is really hard to know where the heck he's at. They can hear the res. They can't shove any of the shove in. They can't see him. And they just wait and hold. There's the stuff. Crazy. And my gosh, I can't believe how much battering they took here. And the fact that they still stayed alive. Like, it's insane. So they got the zip to put pressure as another way to go up. If they had a Watson, this would have been so much easier to get rid of all those nades. That pressure. This is why Watson's so viable and competitive. All right, now they have no choice but to go. Try to play patiently here. They get blasted from the team on the far end, and they work their way in. Good damage. Now, the unfortunate part is that just everyone just starts landing and becomes mass chaos because there's still 7 teams, right? What are you gonna do? There's just not much at this point. It is what it is. But they play it out. They get wide swung here. Shiv landed a lot of damage. Goes down. And then Yanya has a top end. Can't really tell who's rezzing who. He tries to hide in the bush here, but somebody still catches him out. I wonder if it was the syringe sound that gave it away. He's just essentially waiting for everyone to pretty much kill each other. I think if he stood still, I don't think this Horizon would have seen him. He does get it, but then there's just the other team just rolls up. And that's it. Not much he could have done there. Maybe he was moving too much. Maybe the Horizon would never have seen it. He won as one, but of course the teammate's just gonna go for it. We got Nano Flick as well here. This team, Ajani, great team. They decided to just push. They control a lot of space here. The amount of mirages, especially for end zone, is pretty insane. It's actually very overwhelming visually. It makes me like realize that Mirage definitely has a place in competitive. It's just a matter of like what team do you run Mirage with, right? And then boom, the whole team, and then there's just mass chaos. There's Qs everywhere. At this point, all your goal is just to survive as much as you can, keep flying up those Qs. If you're playing Caustic, throwing those traps down, flying around like a menace. Got the bat off. Oh, I forget. Oh, doesn't get it, but close. Let's go on to the final game. Okay, last but not least, game 6. We got good armors here. I think we're into the same issue where we just get gated, trying to run in. We spent actually more time this time around in zone. Yeah, we do get gated. So we have the strat that if they're not going to let us in, then we're just going to sit in zone and just craft like crazy. That was our strat because we know that they're not going to let us in. Like, we're not even able to take a clean one fight. We're mostly shot from multiple angles, and we're just late. So if we're going to be late, we might as well, even if we're early, the teams are already postured up because they're just as efficient as we are, right? That's the problem when you start playing in these higher tier lobbies is that you may be fast, but everyone's just as fast. So then if they have less space to run in, naturally they're just going to beat you there just out of sheer space, right? So we skip ahead and we decide pretty much to just, we hold here waiting for zone, and then we decide to rotate and just pretty much just craft and craft and craft. And we do try to like look at areas to see what we can occupy if we want to take a 1v, like a real fight. But because there's shots in multiple angles and this lobby was dying out faster, it is the last round. So teams were definitely fighting a lot more aggressively because people want kill points at this point as well. So maybe our decision to play zone should have just been last round rather than this round because people started getting eliminated faster. Well, nonetheless, we stuck with a strat, and I'm just healing outside of zone. We heal, and we do what we can, right? Just the strat that we have in the moment. We have a team here, and we do try to fight this. I think we do get... I don't know if we got a kill here. We heard them rezzing. We try to push it aggressively. But they don't even want to fight. They actually run outside of zone 2. Like, we thought they were going to push forward, but they actually just run into zone. And that pretty much cost us this KP. Maybe we should have played a little more aggressively. We thought they were just going to at least push in. But they don't, unfortunately. So, at that point, they got away. We have to rotate. Yep, they're all the way down there. We just consider a lost cause because otherwise we're just pushing outside of zone for too long. And we only have so many resources because zone is just gonna hurt, right? So we keep pushing in. We have our resources. Not a whole lot of fighting here, I'm gonna be honest. And then this is where the fighting really happens, where we finally get into zone. Where at least we have some space here. I think our mistake when Bronzey made the cross here, we should have went with him. I should have Mirage ulted. I should have been the one to go first, to be honest, because I have the rotation. Maybe Bronzey and I were debating whether he should have been on Mirage or if I should have been on Horizon. So at least we got the damage here, and we're putting pressure. And there's a team on the left of why we don't push up front, because I do damage and say this is viable. But then on the left side, you'll see, there we go. There's a team on the left over here. And so we decide not to push because we know that team is going to push right in right after. Because Noobking took a lot of damage from them. And so it becomes a little bit more hesitant. Like, okay, we push some. The building on the top is going to push us. Who's going to instigate this first? And because of that, we're just kind of hard gated here. So we decided to rotate. Bronzey, I don't really know why we waited here. Because he starts getting shot at. But he was already kind of crossing. And we just kind of left with, he just kind of left without us. And I don't really know why in the moment. Let's listen to the comms. Realistically, I know we should have been, let's see here.
I'm going to try to wrap this.
Okay.
Super late.
We're going to try to wrap this super late.
God, dude. I might be dead there. Like, come on.
He's frustrated. Understandable. Like, it's hard because I think he says super late, so we decide, okay, super late, but he was already going. So I don't know if this, I would call this a miscommunication. If I knew Bronzey as a player more, then I probably would have just ran with them. But I heard super late, so I assumed we were going to go as the zone was closing or something, right? I assume that's the plan. We do manage to rotate, so I guess it's not the end of the world here. We do manage to, I was going to go for res, and he goes for res, and then I was like, crap, and then I decided to just go. So we have some more miscommunication that happens here. We realize that he needs a med kit, and I already started rotating in, just because I know we need to, because I called it. I was like, I just need to get in, guys, before we run out of time. Says he needs a med kit, I drop it, and I pick it up, because he's not going to use it, because he's already using one, and then we move in. Now we have to deal with a different team here that's gating us. So we traded a gate for a gate, and that's just naturally what's going to happen. We were just hoping that the other gate would be a little bit easier. Now, we look for an opportunity to do damage, right? So there was 54 there. So good amount of damage. Got to rotate in, get the bat off here. And now we're essentially in a holding pattern until one of us can do more damage and kind of make a play again. So I'm just trying to look for an opportunity on the left side. Noobking gets hit really hard on the right. He does go down. I need to pop a bat. Unfortunately, he gets aped, and that aping is just what causes everything. So this is tough because this isn't just one team. This is two teams. So I'm focused on the team that's near the building, and we do get arced. I take out the ultimate out right away, but he just gets hard swung, and that hard swung is just because there's not much to hit here. We just essentially just go down. This is tough because of the gate, and then essentially they're fighting now that other team. You see, we're like, I know, I guess they got arced, and let's see what happens here. No, I guess it was just one team. Who they run into? The other team just give him space? I guess they did. Interesting. I guess they just backed out. Maybe we should just went in a little faster. No, they're still there. They just backed out. Okay. I was wondering where they went. I was like, how come they just got to push that for free? I'm like, how did they get that space? Unfortunate timing. Like, if we just look back, it's just we came in late. We don't have all the information. We know there's two teams. See how there's a team above? And then there's a queue, and then he instantly gets pushed, probably because they know the other team backed out hard, and I just wasn't able to get any damage here, and that's just the soft reality of it. It's tough. Realistically, maybe we queue to put just go all in, just kind of say screw it. Who knows? see what happens instead of playing a little more patiently, waiting for an opportunity when they just pretty much took the opportunity from us, you know? Because this team just gets to roll in. Oh, they finally do run into him. No, they're in the building. That's crazy. They're just chilling. They just didn't want to fight. This is close. It's so close to getting this, man. That's unfortunate. Goes for the res. Is able to get it off. And they're able to reset. There's just a few people there. So they're able to cleanly get that. And they have height. They have the best positioning. Every team has to rotate towards them. I think they win this. Do they? Yeah, every team just rotates to them. If we were on this left side, I think our right side was probably the better play. I think we wasted time when Bronzey went down. I think if we went there a little bit sooner, we probably would have had a better shot. So it's tough to say. These things are very difficult to really judge when it comes to competitive. You'll notice that there's some moments that accuracy really matters, but everyone knows how to shoot, and it really comes to the IGL decisions. I think Bronzey did a great job IGLing us. I think it was some very minor mistakes that could have been easily cleaned up. I think we are definitely a formidable team. I definitely would have preferred to occupy more space. I'm not a Mirage main. I would definitely prefer to play Watson. I think I could have done a lot more, or even as Loba in competitive, to be honest, or even, heck, do more as Vantage. At least I can create some openings and create some space, you know. But nonetheless, I know it's a really long video. I learned a lot from VOD reviewing on it. I definitely was a little harsher on myself on this video or on this tournament than I should have. Like, I kind of was very frustrated myself by the end of it. I wasn't mad even at Noobking or Bronzey. It was mostly like I just felt like I could have done more, right? But overall, pretty solid. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. See you guys all in the next video.